This film is sponsored by New York Life and its dedicated agents, proud sponsors of NFL team highlight films. New York Life, the company you keep.
Singing in the rain, singing in the rain.
Oh, yeah, right.
What a glorious feeling, we're happy again.
This ain't supposed to rain in San Diego, is it?
You gotta play football in it. No excuses today, no excuses. Having a great day. Nice rainy day.
You're going to get dirty today. Don't worry about getting dirty.
I love to get dirty. I love to get dirty.
Butts the running back on a second down. They run Butt straight ahead, 50.
For the first time in 12 years, San Diego, California hosted the NFL playoffs.
He scores! Touchdown, San Diego!
For Charger fans, it was a religious experience, a triumphant conclusion to a season that San Diego started 0-4, only to win a division title, an unprecedented feat in NFL history.
Humphries inside handoff. Hendrickson, touchdown, San Diego!
For Coach of the Year, Bobby Ross. For the loyal legions of the Lightning Bolt. For owner Alex Spanos and Vice Chairman Dean Spanos, it was a dream come true.
I've lost my voice, but try to understand. Once again, I just want to say thanks, fellas. I can't tell you how happy I am today. It pleases me to no end. I've waited 9 years for this. I want to thank Beathard, and I want to thank Bobby Ross and his staff and everybody. Thanks.
Showtime, San Diego. Showtime, baby. Showtime. Here we go, Blue. Here we go, baby.
On a rain-soaked January afternoon, Dan Marino and the Dolphins put an end to San Diego's Cinderella season. In the end, however, there was so much to be thankful for. It was a season that began with a disappointing loss to AFC West rival Kansas City. A season that reached rock bottom 3 weeks later with a 27-0 defeat in the Houston Astrodome. A winless September left this team in a hole from which no team had ever emerged to make the playoffs. But then, no 0-4 team ever had as much talent and determination as these 1992 San Diego Chargers.
Diego Harmon is back in now with Marion Butts. Everybody into the pattern. Humphries looking long, throwing deep, got a man open at the 40. It's Miller to the 20, to the 10. Touchdown, San Diego!
California newcomer Stan Humphries needed only a month to tap into this talent. Acquired by GM Bobby Beathard after an injury to John Freese, Humphries' first discovery was the pass-catching brilliance of Anthony Miller. Miller had another quietly spectacular season. His 8 touchdowns led the Chargers, and his 6 dozen catches resulted in 1,060 receiving yards, the most in the AFC. For his efforts, he earned his 3rd trip to the NFL Pro Bowl. Humphries' other big play receivers were Sean Jefferson, Brian Brennan, and number 81, Nate Lewis. Tight end Derek Walker turned 34 catches into nearly 400 yards, both career highs. But Stan Humphries' favorite receiver was one of pro football's most exceptional talents. Running back Ronnie Harmon shuns the spotlight. But his rare combination of skills demands recognition. San Diego converted more 3rd downs into 1st downs than any team in the AFC, due in large measure to number 33's elusiveness. His 79 catches led all NFL running backs. His 1,149 combined yards made him the Chargers' MVP. His dogged determination made him a first alternate to the Pro Bowl. Stan Humphries also discovered the Charger ground game.
First and goal, Bieniemy dives to the goal line and into the end zone. Touchdown, San Diego.
In Game 6 against the Colts, second-year back Eric Bieniemy scored his first NFL touchdown. He was, however, slightly upstaged.
They're going to run a counter. Here's Bernstein through the hole to the 20. Gets a block to the 15. Bernie turns the corner to the 10. To the goal line. Dives in. Touchdown, San Diego.
Swain, Moten, Hall, Richards, and Thompson. Zandowski, Goaz, and Whitley. Young, May, and Popunu. The anonymous men who moved mountains for Rod Bernstein. In the Hoosier Dome, Bernstein earned AFC Offensive Player of the Week honors with 150 rushing yards.
Dives to the goal line into the end zone. Touchdown, San Diego.
Unfortunately, Big Rod suffered a separated shoulder in this game. So 2 weeks later, Marion Butts' 105 yards controlled the tempo, completing a home and away season sweep of the Colts.
Albert Paputo will come in motion to the right. They're going to run the ball to the right side to Butts to the goal line. Butts to the end zone. Touchdown, San Diego.
But of all this team's October triumphs, none combined more winning offensive elements than the rematch with Denver.
Humphries will throw. Guns it wide open. Walker got it. Touchdown, San Diego.
Stan Humphries now commanded an arsenal, and his 355-yard passing day against the tough Bronco defense proved to be a harbinger of good things to come.
Humphries to throw on second and long. Steps into the pocket. He's going to run. Throws on the run. Got a guy open. Caught. Miller. Touchdown, San Diego.
Stan Humphries finished as October's AFC Offensive Player of the Month. The Chargers evened their record at 4-4. And at mid-season, the AFC West was suddenly up for grabs. In Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City, San Diego battled back from a 13-0 halftime deficit to take the lead, only to lose on a last-second field goal. Uncharted waters lay ahead. Could a young team from Southern California regain its footing on Cleveland lakefront ice? The Chargers found a way to win. And even at the time, those close to this team realized the game's significance.
I think that was the biggest step we've taken so far at winning the Cleveland game, because playing away from home, playing in weather like we wondered if this team could play in weather like that. So I think that was a big hump to get over.
Humphries looks at a critical third down. Humphries going to fake the handoff off the draw. Looks to throw. Got a guy open. Throwing deep to Jefferson. Got it! Touchdown, San Diego! Sean Jefferson running a flag pattern to the back of the end zone. Score!
Major factors in this and every Charger win were defensive coordinator Bill Arnsparger and the team's outstanding defense. Nobody in football enjoyed a good sack more than veteran Blaze Winter. Nobody in the AFC recorded more sacks than defensive end Leslie O'Neal. O'Neal became the San Diego Chargers' all-time sack leader, earning his third trip to the Pro Bowl. On the other side, Bert Grossman notched 8 sacks and 2 safeties. And together with Lee, Thornton, Winter, and Mims, Grossman and O'Neal led the Chargers to 51 sacks, including an 8-sack performance against the Colts, holding Indianapolis to 99 total yards, the third best defensive showing of the '92 NFL season. Pass pressure wasn't the only way the Chargers won with defense.
Elway back to throw, looking left, throwing deep to the end zone. Intercepted, but is he inbounds or out of bounds? He's inbounds. It's intercepted. San Diego's got the ball.
The big interception, it stopped John Elway's comeback bid in Game 7. And all season long, the work of Richards, Fields, Hall, and Carrington, Blaylock, Pope, Van Horst, and Frank had receivers following the bouncing ball into Charger hands, especially the hands of cornerback Gil Byrd, whose inspirational play and 6 interceptions earned him his second trip to the Pro Bowl. But only one player in the entire conference was a unanimous Pro Bowl selection, linebacker Junior Seau. Quite simply, there was no way to game plan around him, and not enough time in this show to list all the awards he won, or how much he means to the Chargers. Witness, conference leading rusher Barry Foster, buried beneath Junior Seau and Charger blue. Stopped dead in his tracks, limited to 36 yards rushing. The Seau salute became a symbol of defensive excellence. Run stuffing became a specialty. Linebackers Rolling, Plummer, Murphy, Marv, and Hendrickson contributed handsomely to a rock-solid defense that allowed fewer yards rushing than all but the Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys. Relentless pursuit. Blanket coverage. A ferocious rush. In Game 10, AFC Defensive Player of the Week Darren Carrington and company turned back the Browns, bringing on Mr. October for one of the season's biggest plays.
Humphreys, deep drop, back to throw, looking, got guys open, throws deep to Anthony Miller. Got it! Touchdown, San Diego!
This time, the Charger defense made it stick.
They're back to throw, they blitz a swing pass caught by Metcalf at the 50 to the 45 to the 40, gets hit and now fumbles. San Diego's got the ball on the fumble. Metcalf coughs it up at the 37 and the Chargers are gonna take over.
And take over they did. Ahead lay one of the greatest comeback stories in NFL history. There was music in the air in Mission Valley. Jack Murphy Stadium was the place to be, and the San Diego Chargers were the city's feature attraction. A team that started the season groping for an identity was ripening into a legitimate contender.
3rd and goal for San Diego. Humphreys to throw, looking left, trying to find somebody back in the end zone. Horvath got it! Touchdown, San Diego!
The AFC's Defensive Player of the Month in November was top draft choice Chris Mims, whose 3 sacks helped bury the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Testaverde to throw, under pressure, gonna be sacked for the safety!
Next to feel the heat, the L.A. Raiders.
Steps into the pocket, goes on a slant pattern. Caught! Touchdown, San Diego!
169 yards rushing, 164 yards passing, balance that even a goal line miscue couldn't undermine.
5 keeps going, down to the goal line, fumbles, touchdown, San Diego! He recovered it in the end zone. I've waited 7 years to say this. Good night now, Raiders.
On the road in Phoenix, Arizona, Bobby Ross's team fell behind 14-0. But 2 interceptions, 3 fumble recoveries, and 6 sacks slowed down the Cardinals. The placement combination of Sam Anno, John Kidd, and John Carney was on its way to a club record 16 consecutive field goals, 2 of which helped put the Bolts back in the game, where a pair of fourth-quarter touchdowns clinched it.
Gonna run Harmon, coming right, trying to sidestep, dives into the end zone, touchdown, San Diego!
Back home against the Bengals, the magic continued. The outcome of this game hinged on a key 4th down situation.
High formation, Hendrickson and Bernstein in the backfield. Knocking at the door, bootleg to the right. Humphrey's gonna try to run, he dives, is he in? Yes, touchdown, San Diego!
Cincinnati crumbled, and Charger fans celebrated 5 straight wins, 9 wins in the last 10 weeks.
Here we go, Chargers! Here we go!
The celebration continued the following week in the LA Coliseum.
You know what you gotta do? Let's go out there and get it done.
It is.
Take on, win on 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
3rd down and 7 from the 15 of the Raiders. Anthony Miller in motion. They blitz. Humphreys under pressure. Throws. Caught at the 10. Goal line. Touchdown, San Diego! Anthony Miller in motion. They blitz. Humphreys under pressure. Throws. Caught at the 10. Goal line. Touchdown, San Diego! Off play action. Schrader to throw. Looks, guns it into the middle. Intercepted off a deflection by Bird. Looks, throws, intercepted by Sayal. 30, 25, to the 20, cuts back into the 15, breaks a tackle to the 10, to the 5. He's down and in at the 2-yard line. The give. Bieniemy's got the touchdown. It is over. Ladies and gentlemen, the decade of decline is officially over. The Chargers are going to the playoffs. Scoreboard, baby.
That scoreboard read Chargers 36, Raiders 14.
Good job, big man.
1 week later, the Battle of Seattle offered an even greater prize.
AFC Division champs, baby. Hey, this is a chance of a lifetime. Let's get it done. Let's get on them quick, and let's get on them often. Let's go. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3. Win!
Humphreys to throw. They blitz. Stan is going to be hit and buried. And Humphreys is hurt.
Stan Humphreys left the game with a separated shoulder. It was a time for heroes.
They're going to run it to Marion. Butts off the right side to the 5. Puts his head down, dives to the goal line and in. Touchdown, San Diego.
Gotta play, baby. Championship, dog. That's it. What we waiting for, man? Turnover. That's it. Did nobody help us? We gotta help ourselves now. Turnover is all on us. Big turnover, man. Turnover.
Back to throw. Looks, throws, intercepted by the Chargers. Out comes Plummer. 35 to the 30 to the 20. Knocked down and out of bounds at the 11. Gary Plummer.
Good job, baby.
Lewis in motion. They run a counter. Ronnie Harmon coming left to score. Touchdown, San Diego on a counter play going left.
What a big win.
No team had ever started a season 0-4, then won a division title, until Bobby Ross's 1992 San Diego Chargers. Next up, AFC West power, Kansas City.
Worst to first, is that what they call it? AFC West, baby. Waited a long time. Woo! That was a super win. I'm going to tell you this. The thing that I'm the most proud of is the way you hung in there as a team. It's very fitting that we win that game in this fashion. Having to face the adversity that we face. It's very fitting. And it goes to show the real true character of this football team.
Super Bowl! Super Bowl! Super Bowl! Super Bowl!
playoff time, and the legions of the lightning bolt had their sights set on the big one.
Right tackle number 76, Broderick Thompson.
It was San Diego's first postseason appearance since 1982, and Jack Murphy Stadium was rocking in the rain.
The wide receiver, number 81, Nate Lewis. And the quarterback, number 12, Stan.
Kansas City tested Stan Humphrey's sore shoulder early. San Diego served notice that such behavior would not be tolerated.
Craig to throw under pressure, gets hit, fumbles! It's recovered by Kansas City at their own 47. David Craig, deep drop under pressure, sack back at his own 45. Gonna get hit, sack back at the 17. Gonna get hit, sack back at the 12-yard line. Gonna get hit, sack back at the 43. Leslie O'Neal again.
San Diego's front four laid their licks on chief quarterback Dave Craig. Kansas City's big back attack met the best run stuffers in the conference. The Chiefs' air game was fair game.
Four wide receivers with McNair as the running back. Everybody into the pattern. Craig under pressure to one. Get him! Get him! It squirts into San Diego territory. Richards has got it to the 40. Is going to get hit and finally knocked down. San Diego recovers the ball on the fumble.
But in period 3, the game remained scoreless.
Butts the running back on a second down. They run Butt straight ahead. 50, 45, breaks the tackle to the 40.
The San Diego Chargers climbed to the top of the AFC West with balance and big play brilliance, not to mention a whole lot of hustle.
Into the 40, he fumbles it. It's a hot football. It's down to the 30. And I think it's recovered by San Diego.
In the end, this Cinderella team finished off the Kansas City Chiefs, the biggest win in Jack Murphy Stadium in over a decade, and established a new order in the AFC West.
Second and goal from the 5. Papuno in motion. Humphreys inside handoff. Hendrickson touchdown, San Diego! Pandemonium here at the stadium.
The Bolt's back. The Bolt's great. The Bolt is back.
Show me your lightning bolt. Look at the fans. It's over. San Diego wins. Goodbye,
Hi, I'm Steve Sable. And so, a changing of the guard in the AFC West. And no matter how the Chargers fare in 1993, their division title, following an 0-4 start in 1992, stands alone in the NFL record book, which brings to mind those record-setting Charger teams of the early 1980s. Before San Diego's 11-year playoff drought, the Chargers, under head coach Don Coryell, owned one of the most prolific passing games the NFL has ever seen. 4 times in 5 seasons, Hall of Fame quarterback Dan Fouts guided the Chargers to the NFL playoffs, only to fall short of the Super Bowl on each occasion. But Their most memorable playoff win during that period ranks as one of the greatest football games ever played, an epic overtime contest that tested the limits of athletic endurance.
On January 2nd, 1982, a steamy, sultry Orange Bowl provided the backdrop for a first-round playoff game between the San Diego Chargers and Miami Dolphins.
Here we go, Dolphins, here we go!
Even before kickoff, anxious fans spoke sportscasters' jargon to describe their excitement over what would eventually be one of the greatest games ever played.
Well, I tell you, this is going to be a good one, because I tell you get those big boys racking them down. There's some head cracking going on today, and I tell you, the San Diego Chargers, and somebody's going to fumble, and I tell you, it's going to be a good barn burner down in the Orange Bowl. Danny Fouts and David Woodley and all those other big boys. Head cracking going on today, Henry.
The Dolphins were slight favorites to win, but the visiting Chargers shocked everyone with a barrage of first-quarter scores. Wes Chandler's punt return ignited an outburst of 24 unanswered points as San Diego looked to turn the game into an early rout.
Way to go, James! Way to go, James! Way to bust in there!
But Coach Don Coryell knew that with 3 quarters still to play, too much time remained for his Chargers to relax.
I think what happened is that we woke the Dolphins up and created a sense of urgency within their football team that, hey, we got to get back into this game. We got to get back into it now.
The Dolphins made a key move when they yanked faltering quarterback David Woodley for backup Don Strock.
My first thoughts were, please don't put me in there. But we knew the Chargers had a average defense at that time. My basic feeling was that we had to throw the ball to win the game. The Chargers ran a lot of man-to-man coverage at that time. I could see that, and we tried to run as many man-to-man patterns as we could. And we got Tony Nathan free down the middle a few times, and Duriel Harris off of a double team, and we really basically called all the man-to-man patterns we had in our offense.
I think when you enter a game in that type of situation for a backup quarterback, the pressure's off. Hey, I wasn't there when it was 24-0. I didn't throw the interceptions or make the bad plays. As the backup quarterback, he's coming in really with a clean slate. Pressure was off him, and all of a sudden it was on us.
Tell him about it, Don Strock. Get him in the end zone, Don. Let's go, boys.
We had not prepared for Strock. We talked about Strock, but we prepared all week for Woodley and scrambling and rolling out and doing the things that he does. Strock, conversely, he just pulls back, takes a look around, he's so experienced, and dumps off to the open receiver.
Strock just came in and he played a perfect game. He couldn't play it any better. He'll never play any better than he did that evening.
While the Chargers were held in check for the rest of the half, the Dolphins were plotting to unleash a schoolyard play that caught the San Diego defense totally unprepared.
We call the play 86 circle curl lateral, is the name of the play. Coach Shula said, well, how about the circle curl lateral? And everybody was kind of like, well, how about the circle curl lateral? There was a timeout. There was 6 seconds on the clock. It's pretty hard to believe that a guy would bite on a play like that with 6 seconds to go and you're 50 yards away from the goal line. Then it worked perfectly, and it made every high school coach in the world happy because every high school has that play.
Strock drops to throw. He's firing for Harris. Lateral, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Dolphins. To Tony Nathan on the last play of the first half.
I told y'all we're going to come back. We're going to come back and whoop them. Miami's #1. Never give up on Miami.
When we saw the play develop, we laughed. We said, oh boy, we're in for it now. And what it did for us is it made us realize that, hey, this game isn't over. This game is going to go right down to the wire, and so be it. We're going to be there too.
The Chargers roared back on the play of number 80 tight end Kellen Winslow. In a game with many heroes, Winslow earned special notice, setting playoff records for receptions and yardage while overcoming a pinched nerve, a bruised shoulder, and heat exhaustion.
I remember Dave Levy, who's now our offensive line coach. I came out of the game going to the bench, wincing in pain. About a minute later, I ran by Dave, tapped him on the hip, and said, "I'm going back in." And as I was running by him, I heard him saying to the coaches upstairs in the press box through the speaker, "I don't believe this. He's going back into the game." And I looked back at him and started grinning, and I said, this sounds like TV. It sounds like somebody wrote this.
The drama continued to unfold as both teams seized, then lost the lead. But with only minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, the Dolphins finally took control and appeared to a victory within their grasp.
Dolphins running off the clock. The Chargers have to force a turnover. Stroud hands off to the first man. The ball's on the ground. Chargers have recovered. So San Diego lives, has one more shot from their own 18.
Trailing 38-31, the Chargers mounted a desperation drive. With less than a minute to go, San Diego tied the game on a play that probably should have failed.
I was zeroed in on Kellen Winslow. I escaped out to the right and saw Kellen heading back to the corner of the end zone. Didn't even see James Brooks. Well, to my surprise, Kellen couldn't get it. The next thing I know, here's this flash, and it's James Brooks, and he makes the catch for the tying touchdown. That's one that's just pure luck.
The Chargers' good luck continued during the final play of regulation. The Dolphins' Uwe von Schamann attempted the winning field goal, but Kellen Winslow added to his heroics by blocking the kick. In overtime, the Chargers had their opportunity to win, but the results were similar.
Paderska's ready. It's a 27-yarder. The snap, it's down, he hits it, it's up. It's no good.
Paderska had never missed a game-winning field goal in his career. But then the Chargers blocked a second Dolphin field goal try minutes later, and Miami's fighting spirit had finally reached the breaking point.
In the overtime, when we had the opportunity to win the game and missing the field goal, and I think that moment was probably the big down of that particular day. Even though they beat us later on during the course of the game, I think that moment was probably the most toughest moment to swallow as a player in that game.
The Chargers were given a second chance, and this time they did not fail.
At the end of the game, I felt our offensive line had dominated the Dolphins' defensive line and had demoralized them to the point where, hey, we can't get to the quarterback and we're not going to win.
Behind perfect protection, Fouts picked Miami apart, setting the stage for Paderska's game-winning field goal. On a hot, muggy Florida evening, two teams had waged an epic battle that they would remember for the rest of their lives.
Nietzsche, the German philosopher, once said, "If it doesn't kill me, it's going to make me stronger." And that's what that game did. We almost died, and we came through.
I've seen an awful lot of great games, but I think that one has to be at the top. It was uplifting. There was no sense of defeat by anybody involved, or even by the people in the stands. To see it was just man rising as high as he could in a form of athletic endeavor. I felt that I just experienced something rare and unusual that I would not soon be seeing again, if ever.
Very few NFL games have offered quite as much diversity and drama as that one. 1 year later, the Chargers met the Dolphins again in the postseason. They lost and fell out of contention for a decade. Of course, last January, San Diego's season ended in Joe Robbie Stadium as Dan Marino beat a new generation of Chargers. But something tells me this team will grow from the experience, that they'll regroup, recommit themselves, and return for the 1993 season even more determined to make it to a Super Bowl. Indeed, it would appear the Bolt will be back.
The San Diego Chargers, well built by general manager Bobby Beathard, well coached by head coach Bobby Ross, well prepared for a bright future. And it all starts with winning defense. There's just no substitute for the ability to stop the run, and no reason to think that San Diego's conference leading unit won't do it again. Linebacker Junior Seau typifies this new winning attitude. Though merely 24 years old, he's already one of the game's dominant defensive players. The addition of free agent linebacker Gerald Williams from the Pittsburgh Steelers makes this unit even better. Second-year pass rusher Chris Mims appears to be cut from the same cloth as Leslie O'Neal, who opens the '93 season as the AFC's defending quarterback sack champion. O'Neal and Sims will get lots of help. Completing passes against the Chargers ain't no bargain either. Pro Bowl cornerback Gil Byrd will anchor a secondary that led the AFC in interceptions and has no intentions of turning down the heat. Defense was the key to San Diego's resurgence, but playoff teams need winning dimensions on both sides of the ball. In 1993, San Diego will run at the competition with power. Youth. Versatility. Few teams in football possess as effective a first down maker as Ronnie Harmon. San Diego's backs know their way to the end zone.
San Diego football first and goal at the 2-yard line with a jumbo offense. They got 3 tight ends. Fumbles the ball. Humphreys dives on the ball. Touchdown, San Diego!
But the real catalyst in this offense is a 5th-year flamethrower from Northeast Louisiana who shook off early season jitters to become a star. In 1992, Humphreys delivered on the potential that Bobby Beathard saw in him years ago. In 1993, look for Humphreys' strong arm to sustain drives and frustrate defenders. Look for his presence to lift the Charger passing game to a new level. And look for Pro Bowler Anthony Miller to make even more big plays. The 1993 San Diego Chargers will defend their AFC Western Division title with power, speed, and grace. And the rest of the division will be hard-pressed to stop this rising young constellation of stars.